Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. What are you thankful for? Me, personally, I am thankful that the days of having to see the Wicked marketing are almost over. Until next year, of course, when Wicked Part 2 comes out. Seriously, the marketing campaign, one of the most annoying, but effective things I've ever seen in my life. But as you read by the title today, I want to talk about, is Wicked a legitimate contender to win Best Picture at this year's Oscars? A conversation that genuinely I never thought I would have, especially 2 weeks ago before this movie came out. Did not think this movie was even in a question of getting the win for Best Picture. Did not even think it was a top 5 contender. But now after release, after the reaction from people, from fans, and the box office numbers and the reviews, it is a serious conversation, and one that is really not as crazy as it seems. Now, I still think, to answer the question of the title, it is a long shot. It is a long shot to imagine Wicked winning the Best Picture prize, especially when you compare it to other movies like it in years past. It's one of those movies that it appears it'll get the nomination for Best Picture, it'll get a lot of actor nominations, it'll get all the technical stuff, it might even win an acting nomination, but will it actually win the big award? And usually the answer is no. But the only reason why I'm considering it a little bit more this year, and why I wanted to make a video talking about it, is because there is sort of a pathway this year to winning this award. This is a year where there is no clear-cut favorite for the Oscar. Most years, we pretty much know what's going to win Best Picture long before the Oscars come around. There are very rare years where they're very weak when it comes to the films, like back in 2020, where there were not a lot of movies, where you don't exactly know what's going to win, you don't exactly know which is the favorite, just because there is no clear-cut masterpiece of a film. This is not one of those years. We have a lot of great films, but there's not one sort of standout movie which you could really pick at and say that's the one that's going to win it all, versus the last 2 years, where last year it was pretty clear from as soon as it came out that Oppenheimer was probably going to sweep the Oscars. The year before, it was clear pretty much from when it came out that Everything Everywhere All at Once would sweep the Oscars. This year we have 3 or 4 movies that I think are legit contenders to win the award, where I could see any of them winning it, and Wicked is one of those films. Now, I'm going to make a whole video in the coming days breaking down my early Oscar predictions, but I want to talk about in this video why I think Wicked actually could end up winning this award. So if you look at years past at Oscar winners, they all have something in common. They all do a few different things. One of those things is they are typically crowd-pleasing movies, especially in the last couple years. The Oscars used to do a thing where they would give the Best Picture not to the biggest crowd-pleasing movie, but the film that they just thought was the best, which is probably the right way to do it. For example, in 2016, when they gave the Oscar to Moonlight, when La La Land was clearly the favorite to win it, and everybody loved it, it was a crowd-pleasing movie, and Moonlight was kind of the sort of smaller, independent, A24 film that not a lot of people had seen. Amazing film, by the way. But over the last couple years, with Oppenheimer and Everything Everywhere All at Once, the Oscars have kind of dipped into the social media Best Picture, giving it to the movie that not only is deserving of it, but is also the movie that sort of makes a lot of noise with crowds, with audiences, and is doing super well for itself in sort of its popularity department. Not only is Wicked in like that sort of popularity zone of being a big movie that everybody talks about, it's going to make probably $1 billion marketing-wise, but it's a film that people are just kind of going crazy about, and I don't think that craziness and that hysteria is going to end anytime soon. You obviously see it with the marketing campaign, you see it with the theater kids going crazy and dressing up at the movie theater. It's got sort of that Barbie mania that Barbie had last year, but the difference between Barbie and this is this movie actually is sort of a crowd-pleasing hit. Not that Barbie wasn't, but this is a movie that I feel like all audiences are kind of embracing, where Barbie was a little bit more divisive. I think this one has the performances, it has the production design, and it has the crowd-pleasing just feel to it that I think makes it a better contender for that Best Picture. I also think Barbie had the issue last year of being in a very crowded year of films. Something else you typically need to be a Best Picture contender is standout performances. This movie has a couple. Of course, Cynthia Irving is awesome as the lead here, but mainly Ariana Grande gives a performance in this movie that it really seems like is going to be a contender to win that Oscar. I would say it's probably going to be between her and Felicity Jones for The Brutalist. I think either one of them, flip a coin, could probably win it at this point, but it does have the performance there to get an award and to give it some more credibility. The film also just feels like an event. It kind of feels like back in 2012 when Les Mis came out, and it just felt like this cultural musical event. Now, of course, that didn't end up winning Best Picture, but this, I think, is in a similar category, that it just feels like a landmark musical event film that everybody's going to see, people are going crazy about, and it's just kind of taken over the world. And because of that, I feel like it will be in that conversation. It's definitely going to win a bunch of technical awards, costume, hair design, the production stuff. It might be in contention with Dune with some of those things, so I don't know if it's just definitely going to get all of them, but it's a film that I think is going to do a lot better at this Oscars than anybody was assuming or thinking about 2 weeks ago. The question of will it actually win that big award, though, is the main one. And right now, I lean towards probably not. There are other films that I just think are not only better, but I think it would be kind of a sin to give Wicked the Oscar over them. Films like Anora and The Brutalist and even Dune Part 2, in my opinion. There are a lot of really, really good films this year, and although there isn't a clear-cut favorite out of any of them, I do think those films probably should get the award over it. The one thing I am saying, and the point of making this video, is that you should not be surprised if Wicked ends up being a contender, because this is a really, really good movie that lives up to what it needed to be, which is this gigantic, epic musical event film that has taken over the world, is incredibly entertaining, has amazing performances, and is just, from a production standpoint, incredibly done. Another main reason, though, why I think it probably won't win is because this is a part one, and although it's one of the best part ones ever, because it is a complete story, it feels like a full movie, in my opinion at least, and it doesn't have that same sort of part one syndrome that a lot of part ones typically have, where you feel like you're getting half a piece of cake. I definitely think the Oscars will probably be more open to the second part, the same way they're probably going to be more open to Dune Part 2 this year versus how they were with Dune Part 1. Dune Part 1 was nominated for everything, but I think Dune Part 2 has a much better chance of winning than Dune Part 1 did, because it is sort of the bigger film, and Wicked Part 2 might end up being the bigger film with the bigger moments, bigger performances, bigger everything, so they might be holding off a year from now to see how that movie is. But yet again, I think you gotta keep your eyes on this one. This has as good of a shot, I think, of any movie that is going to be nominated as to winning. I think it is a coin flip, and we have to wait to see how the other award shows sort of pan out. But yeah, make sure to subscribe and turn on your notifications, because in the next day or two, I'm going to be releasing a video giving my Oscar predictions and my rankings on how I think every category is going to shape out, at least where we stand right now. But yeah, other than that, enjoy your Thanksgiving. I'll see you in the next one.